So let's chat with our guests today. Thank goodness my wife doesn't listen, because usually about this time I'd be getting a text from her saying, let your guests talk, let your guests talk. Yeah, well, we're going to let our guests talk.
You did get a text.
Did I get it from her? Did I missed it?
She texted me.
Come and knock on our door.
Okay, we got Three's Company in here
We're
today.
waiting for you.
We got Blake Vartanian, Jonathan Noel, and Jim Norton's with us too.
Hey.
So real estate, anything going on, guys? I mean, actually, I guess we better, before we even get started, we're gonna have to go and a little indoctrination here. Jonathan, tell us about you, man. Where'd you come from? What are you up to? Or how'd you get stuck between these two?
I'm asking myself that now as we sit here, but I said it's also a pleasure too to be stuck between these two. Maybe. But,
Time will tell.
maybe time will tell.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I come from from way back from the entertainment industry, but also
we're in trouble now. We got somebody that knows what they're doing here.
possibly. But also just had a marketing firm with a co-owner just recently, and we were nationally recognized, award-winning firm, and came award-winning firm.
Wow.
So we came in here to kind of get this thing going that Blake had, this vision that he had, and I was just super excited to be a part of.
Jonathan, you better be careful.
Yeah.
Because I've known Blake for a few years now. Be careful of his imagination. There might be some serious issues going here.
I need a walking disclaimer.
Okay, so you're the one that tries to make his visions come to reality.
Yeah, we got to tell the story, right?
Got to tell the story.
We got to tell the story.
Okay,
Absolutely.
good deal. So we got a storyteller with us. So, fiction or nonfiction?
We'll see.
There we go. Okay.
I like him already.
Yeah, it's got to have a lot of little fun. Okay, so let's talk real
Did I tell you
estate.
that Jonathan just got promoted?
Wow, that's moving quick.
Yeah.
You can send us the payments.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Promotions without an extra,
Yeah.
few bucks doesn't mean much.
Hopefully that was recorded though.
Yeah.
It is recorded.
Okay,
Josh
okay,
has everything we talk about
Good.
recorded.
That's right.
So
Housing market. You want a quick
Yeah.
summary?
I want a quick summary about the housing market. Let's
No
see what we
problem.
got going on.
Low
here.
inventory, low buyers, high interest rates, and the market is hot. 39 days on market.
Okay, so
That got you with that last one. I know I got you with that.
you're listening
It's-
to Ron
it's-
Siegel Radio discussing your real. We'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, it's over.
Jim
No,
gave us
it
the whole
is-
thing in a sentence here.
It's one of those snapshots where people, if they're asking, what should I buy or should I sell right now? And it's yes, because we can control the moment. We can determine what's going on in the moment, and you can make your decisions based on that. But right now, the market it's not soft. It's not, well, it is kind of hot. But the days on market have come down, but the amount of homes are not increasing. There's not people selling, and the amount of home buyers is still as before. We knew it went down because of interest rates. It lessened the amount of people in the pool, but all those two are balancing each other, and the transactions are happening. That's
At the same level that they were.
You know,
Well, no, because the same numbers aren't there. I mean, we're what?
well, the number of homes on the market is averaging 2,000-ish in Orange County relative to 5 years before COVID. The average was about 7,000 to 8,000
right,
homes on the
8,000.
market at the same time of the year.
Yeah.
So the amount of inventory is reflected by the number of sellers who are withholding their, or delaying their moves for whatever
Yeah.
reason, whether
Nobody
they can't find
puts
a
it in a
replacement property or
Nobody
whatever.
puts it in a percentage, but
Yeah.
the percentage of transactions to the amount of inventory that's out there is probably equal to the market was before.
Well,
The
Can I-
transactions to what was that again, Jim?
Transactions to availability.
Okay.
I'm making, kind of twisting the correct verbiage, but the point being is that if it's going on the market, it's getting sold.
So I want to throw this out to question to you, Blake, because I know that you study some of these numbers. In a normal year for Orange County, California, pre-COVID, let's go to pre-COVID years. And I'm not looking for an exact number. What would be the normal amount of inventory for Orange County?
This time of year,
Yeah, this time of year.
it would be normal for us to have somewhere between 5,000 to 9,000 homes on the market. If you get into an unbalanced market, we've seen as high as 15,000 or 16,000 homes on the market.
We don't want to go to the outliers. I just
Yeah.
want to look
But
at.
the healthy market's going to be between, let's say, 5,500 to 9,000 properties on the market, depending on which month, what week, because inventories do fluctuate, just like items on
Sure.
the shelf at the store.
So I just pulled up for the week of May 17th. We get these from our friends over at Altos Research. They track every home on the market every week. The week of May 17th, inventory on the market was 1,462 homes
Orange
that's-
County?
in Orange County.
That's so,
So that's like 20% of what the norm is.
and you
Exactly.
figure that's including homes that are significantly overpriced,
Right.
that are being under marketed in some cases, or are in price ranges that the average person is never going to be able to purchase.
Well, we've got a
5,
worthless
6,
number.
7 million.
Yeah.
So
We've got a worthless number. Median list price is $1,695,000 in Orange County.
right.
List
So,
price.
so the fewer homes you have at the lower end, the median's going to move up much faster.
Right.
Because there's
not as
fewer
many homes on
typically on the higher end. But can I give you a quick synopsis?
Yeah.
I mean, this past weekend's activity, new listing, Maria Espinoza out in the high desert. She gets multiple offers. It sells within hours of coming on the market at the first open house, second open house over the weekend.
Okay, I'm slow because I never remember. Is
Yeah.
high desert like Victorville, Apple
Yes.
Valley? Is that
Yes.
Coachella Valley?
No, you're right. Victorville
Okay.
area.
Real Apple Valley.
So that went just like that. Then
So that's going to be a moderately priced home, probably.
yes.
Okay.
And then we had a property in
Look,
Anaheim.
Before you go on,
Oh.
let me add on that if things are moving, if you've been up to the high desert, Apple Valley area, Victorville, that is also a tremendous new supply coming online. There are quite a few tracks, comparatively speaking, to Orange County and even to the Inland Empire. There's a lot of building activity going on in the upper desert, and so to have a not a used home, but excuse me, but to have an existing home sell against the
The new
against
home
the market of
construction.
new home construction, that tells you the market's moving up there.
Continue our conversation this morning. We have Blake Vartanian, Jonathan Noel, and Jim Norton, Realty Pro 100. They're in the house, and we're talking real estate. Now, you got the old guys sitting here on cornering Jonathan, and Jonathan's a storyteller. So, and a music maker, music writer.
Yes, this is correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so give me a clue here. I don't want you to sing for us.
No, I probably
Okay.
won't be doing that. So yeah, it's okay. Yes.
So in sales, we all talk about the idea of you can make somebody understand. If I just go and tell people the 6 Ds, or if I tell them that we need a catalyst for things, they don't really understand that. I can talk and talk, and well, a lot of people say I do talk a lot, but if you tell a story, you can really accomplish something. You can get something across.
I agree. I agree with that. I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so how would you help us convey to people that there's still opportunities to buy a house and sell a house?
I think first and foremost, we have to make sure that buyers and sellers know that we're their friends, that the agents are their friends. We have to put out there the best interest of the buyer and seller. And I think that is a lot of through what you've done historically in the past, and then how you've portrayed that out there in the present. So I think it's a big deal.
So I've got to tell them that I helped the first family I helped with a loan was in 1983. And I kind of have an idea of what I'm doing, and I'm navigating a challenging market post-COVID.
Absolutely. I think the way to build credibility is not only just to be able to tell stories, but to also constantly know where your audience is at. They're a constant evolution. So it's almost like dating. I'd hate to bring this up between these two gentlemen here, but you're constantly courting your audience.
Where the kisses are.
You're
I
constantly.
dated once years ago. I went on a date.
Okay. Well, you're constantly courting your audience and checking in with them. And with that, they're also checking in with you. And that goes back. Yeah. If it looks like you did something back in 83, 85, 86, 87, it doesn't really matter. At some point, you want them to understand your credibility, your history, and what you're doing right now.
Okay, so just a little education there. So now if I'm a listener right now and I'm not in real estate,
Uh-huh.
do I need to use that same storytelling abilities, or should I be to try and educate the agents so that they can best, know what I need, what I'm looking for to try and make, I don't have a lot of time.
Gotcha.
So if I'm going out shopping for a house, which I wouldn't do, I'd send my wife because she gets to vote anyway. I don't get a vote.
Yeah.
Right. So when I sit down with that consultation, should I be expecting an interrogation, or should I be ready to tell them about my story?
No, I think it goes both ways. I think it's very advantageous for both those avenues to have their stories out. I think if the agent knows what the buyer or seller is looking to do and knows exactly what their plan and motivation is, it makes it easier on the agent. But I also think being able to put yourself in a position as an agent to have the idea of what you're looking to bring to the table in that relationship and what you're looking to bring to the table and where they're going to see benefits, I think it's going to go a long way on either side.
So as a consumer advocate, what I'm hearing from Jonathan is when I do an interview, when I interview an agent, I want to see if we match up. Do our values match? Are they understanding me? Is it somebody I feel I can work with? I'm going to have to spend, I'm going to say 40 days, 60 days with them. They're going to say they want to spend a lifetime with me, and then like 90% of them are never going to call me again. But that's just a whole different story. But the bottom line is I want to know who am I talking to and get to know them. Can I work with them?
Yeah, we don't have to be married, but I know you'll want to marry me.
Okay.
I think at the end of the day, that's the
goal.
That's what we're putting out. We don't have to end up, in a long-term relationship.
Let me ask you.
Yes.
Because you're closer to this than I am. I still like to meet people face to face and I like to talk. I'd rather call somebody than text somebody.
Absolutely.
What are majority of people? I mean, it's hard to say because you have the younger generation, older generation. There's also different feeling to that. So being of the older generation,
much older.
Thank you. We're face to face a little bit more because we didn't have technology the way they have it today. Across the board, what really is the majority of people looking to get to an agent? Is it through technology or is it still good old fashioned face to face?
I feel face to face plays such a huge element, still such a huge role, because I think it's easier to really get the gist of a person. Not saying whether they're honest or not, but there's a lot you can tell from having a sit down conversation. There's a lot you can tell from a person from actually being able to look them in the eye and still get that firm handshake. And I look for things in the past that Blake and Jim might know about. No disrespect there, but those are things that I think people still appreciate.
Jonathan, you can tell them how old they are because they're the oldest ones in the room.
You can still have your qualifications.
You can still have your qualifications
in website or Instagram, Facebook, however you're doing it. You can still show your qualifications that way.
Correct.
That obviously cuts to the chase pretty quick because whatever we put on the internet, if it's true, we know that
it's there. And at the end of the day, they're going to go look for it anyway at some point. So once you've had that sit down conversation and you've left and I've left, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to get on the phone on the way home, or I'm going to go back home and I'm going to go check you out anyway. So having that, credibility up front, I think goes a long way, and it just provides that sense of honesty in the beginning, and then they think you have their best interest. And I think marketing, once again, is always about putting something out in that moment to get people to understand, okay, this is what we want people to see at the end. So how do I make this happen in as simplest format as possible? I was telling one of the agents the other day that at the end of the day, you're not always talking to real estate agents. So with any form of marketing in any industry, you have to look at doing things that don't necessarily include your industry. You're not going to be speaking to agents all the time. You're speaking to consumers, buyers, sellers. They may not know the industry as well as you do. So simple form, how do we get this to work and how do we get this to make sense to someone in the simplest form?
I like simple because I'm a simple guy.
There you go.
And I say that kiddingly on the show, but I did a class on Chat GPT, and actually I put right in there, hey, let's write everything in reading level 9 or less.
Absolutely.
Which I think newspapers, well, there used to be newspapers when I was young, and you can go into some of the journalism class, and I think it was always either like 6th or 7th grade reading level is what you wrote for, in the newspaper area. So it's the idea of being simple, right? Everyone wants to understand it. But the reason I wanted to ask that to Jonathan is because if you're thinking about moving right now, there's got to be a catalyst for you to move. And I'm going to try and remember them. I don't always get it right. Well, a lot of times I don't get it right. But basically, we're in graduation season. So we've got the diplomas, diamonds, diapers. And then after you get the diamonds, then you go to divorce. And then you get the death and default. So the bottom line is a catalyst of some sort in there. And if you've got one of those catalysts, you need to talk to a real estate agent that understands what you're going through. They may not have gone through it on their own, but through their experience and through their tenure, they may have helped other families go through a probate or go through a trust sale or navigate through divorce. And through that conversation, I agree exactly with what Jonathan said. Sit down across the table with them, because then you can see, are they telling you the truth, or do they have a good story that they've made up just to try and get a sale? And me, I don't like the idea of we don't bring commission people on here that are just looking for commission. I have nothing against commission. I live on it. I've lived on it my whole life. But the people we want to talk to are those that have the right heart. And I think you can find that out a lot easier. You can't find out somebody's heart by a text, can you?
I don't think so.
No, I don't either. I mean, because it's just words on electronic words.
Yeah, I call it the difference between owning the outcome and renting the outcome.
Explain that to me. I'm simple, Blake.
If you're commission driven and you're in it for the money, you're only going to stick around as long as there's the money.
Right.
And so in our case, when you own the outcome, you stay true to the industry that you serve through the decades, and you make a commitment that through the good times, the bad times, there's always the opportunity to learn and to grow. So like this past weekend, we had agents who were consulting with a family in Anaheim where divorce was was the D, and they did not want to go through a public sale of their property. They just didn't want to go through it for whatever their reasons were. That was their choice. So we disclosed to them what they could get on the market if they put it on the market, best estimate. And then we brought an investor in who made an offer, who they decided to sell directly to purchase it. They know the home's going to be fixed up when it's done because it needed a substantial amount of work, and they didn't want to go through that. And so we provided them, a solution based on what they were willing to share with us in a totally transparent way, so that way they could make the right decision for themselves, and everybody the decisions can stand the test of time, because that's where the real outcome comes out is, when you're 20, 30, 40 years into your career, what is the total book value of what you've done? What's the legacy you've left behind in service to the industry? And it's so important. And that's part of why we're investing in a marketing director in our company at a time when most people would be looking to artificial intelligence and streamlining their operations during a tough time and cutting back on what they're providing the consumer and providing their agents. We're looking at this is an essential time for us to grow and to help other people who really need our help right now.
And that's a big issue right there. There's a lot of folks out there that really, really need that help. They don't know where to turn. Glad you're turning to Ron Siegel Radio. We're going to come back and continue this conversation. We're going to continue our conversation. We've got, now, I don't know. I was told that I should be playing Three Stooges here, but I don't know. Those of you that are old like me probably remember Three's Company, don't?
Yeah.
Everyone at least remember Three's Company?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so I got company in the studio today, and we're talking real estate. We're talking problem solved. So Blake's already solved one divorce today, so we got that resolved.
And I apologize for my seriousness.
You apologize for what?
My seriousness.
When do we ever get serious in here? I've never known you to be serious.
He's more like Mr. Roper.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh my God.
Okay, so we got our soundboard. We got some seriousness. We don't have some seriousness. We're just having fun. You know, it's real estate is a complex issue, but at the end of the transaction, and I don't know this to be a fact. Jim Norton may know this answer for us, but you know, I've been told that when you have a baby, you know, you forget all about the pain as soon as they put the baby in your arms. Right, and Jim, is that somewhat true?
Jim didn't experience any pain. He was fine.
No pain. No, I did notice one thing that with my third child, I finally wised up just a little.
I know I got in trouble on the first child, holding Michael after he's born, right when he's born.
You weren't supposed to hold him?
No, I was holding him, but I was also talking to the doctor at the same time that was
See, and
delivered.
you're
The
proving my
doctor
point.
No, we were talking about remodels. Talking construction right in the middle of the burner.
So I'm going to tell you, you're proving my
I got
point.
in trouble for that.
You're going to get in trouble for everything.
Yeah,
So by the
that's
time you
true.
get to the third one, what I really learned there's a reason that the men waited in a waiting room for so many decades.
Oh, yeah.
Smoking cigars.
Right? I mean,
Uh,
because we're going to be wrong about any of it. But when we get to, and that's just solving problems, right? That's always the theme of the segment: solve problems, guys. That Lamaze stuff and the helping and all that other stuff, rubbing the head or whatever.
I
Wait
seriously
in the
think
waiting
they-
room.
I seriously think they don't want us in the room anyways.
I'm sure that
At least me. I didn't do
I
it
can
at all.
understand why they don't want you in the room. That's a whole different
But
story.
he did get some good information on construction.
and you got some information on where you were sleeping for the next 6 months. But that's
Nothing like a little air
A
security.
little longer than 6
okay.
months,
So,
my friend.
okay.
All right, let's move on.
Too much
Back to real
information there.
estate.
Back to real estate. So Blake, you helped somebody with a divorce, or somebody in the office did.
Yeah, we had agents. Our agents, Mike and Jean, did, and the other example was there. You know, of the D's was a death in Rolling Hills Estates, and that particular.
That wasn't Tiger Woods driving, was it?
No.
Okay, just checking on that.
But
Was
in
that
that
Rolling
particular.
Estates?
Yeah, or Pacific Palisades.
Yeah.
or-
Oh, okay.
In that particular
Say, wrong mountain.
that particular property came on the market on Mother's Day, and in that average asking price, the amount of days on market is around 100, according to the public data that's available, and it's sold on 7+ offers, and it got bid up.
All on Mother's Day?
Well, within
Someone got a new house on Mother's Day.
well, the contracts, they had 51 groups, I believe, through on Mother's
Wow.
Day, which was a surprise at that price range to have that many groups through on Mother's Day.
Somebody's got a
Yeah.
nice family, because I'm not buying that for my mother.
But that kind of excitement
Of course, my
created,
mother.
created a bidding war, and the bidding war moved the final. We won't release the final sales price yet, but it's substantially over the ask price by well past 10% over the ask price. And
So the question I always come up with on those, Blake,
Mhm.
was it planned that way that they figured,
no,
because you could put a house and
no,
I don't
actually, it was estimated based on the valuation that the home would sell around 2.15 to 2.2, somewhere in there. If it was
traditional sale.
or if we were going to set it up to get it bid up, we would have wanted it under the $2 million mark.
Okay,
Yeah, just because
because that's a
of the price
strategy that
point,
some
that's-
realtors use.
Yeah, and it's one that I employ every chance I would get to a seller, because I always go back to, it's not where you start with the asking price that matters. It's where you finish with this closed sales price.
Sure,
Right. So,
sure.
so if you're asking too little and buyers perceive value, they're
Or the
going to
net
show
number.
up. The
Right.
net number is extremely
But when you
important,
go
right?
when you
So-
go high to start and then you have to back down,
It scares people
It's-
away.
it takes. Yes.
You got a lot of questions when I throw in there to you, because and the reason I say the net number is because when you're low and you go up, or when you're right around market and you go up with multiple offers, because that's the only reason you're going to go up is because there's multiple offers.
Mhm.
Your potential expenses probably diminish, don't they? Requests for repairs and those other things.
Because they know there's pressure from other people who are willing to
Right.
buy it in
Right.
its condition.
in the
So it tends
condition.
to psychologically change people's opinion about the value of what they just got. But you got to be careful too to make sure that the people are serious, because sometimes they'll win the bidding war and then walk away from the deal once they've won, because they start to have second thoughts, or somebody comes along from the family and says, why are you paying so much for it? And they weren't really committed to the deal. So oftentimes you have to look at how much down, what's the motivation. In this case, the property was a single story house, and the people really, wanted a single story house. It's not represented by our firm, so I'm not advocating that we, double-ended the transaction. We sold it, to a cooperating through a cooperating brokerage, and the sellers had the opportunity to, take the right time to evaluate all the offers, and they looked at it over multiple days so that they could decide in their own quiet moments what was important to them. And
Did they take guidance from the listing agents, or did they just do it on their own?
No, they took guidance because they were looking for our professional leadership, but they we found that through consultation, most of us don't like to be pressured, right? We want to be able to be informed and then have the time to think about it and make the right decision.
Sure.
Now, the only downside to that is a buyer might walk during that time if they think that you're not serious, because they've offered you substantially more than full price. And now you're not telling them, yes, I'll take your offer. You're telling them, I want to wait and see what happens next.
We've all watched
Right.
Shark Tank.
Right. So
Right?
sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not taking me seriously, so I'm out.
Right.
Right. I mean, and that's a risk
Yes.
that, hopefully the agents, the listing agents,
Yeah.
will counsel the sellers, hey, something, we need to act quickly. But when you're talking about this one where there's a death, you might get a little bit of time from people, just because most of us that are human will realize that, there's some emotion going into that.
Well, then I also wanted to share examples as they occurred this weekend across your audience's target, geographic locations, all the way from Victorville to Rolling Hills Estates.
Sure.
We were involved in sales in those properties, and
Although I will admit that we just got someone who was inquiring from our group with Credit Sanitizer from Pennsylvania last night.
No kidding. That's
So
amazing.
something it's called the World Wide Web for a reason.
The other piece of the puzzle that we've heard today is that the 2-story house in the Victorville Desert is probably marketing towards I don't even know who the buyer or the seller was, but it's going to be marketed at 2-story. It's going to be a family. It's going to have the room. It's going to have probably the yard that they're looking for. Whereas you moving over to the Palos Verdes Peninsula, a 1-story on Palos Verdes Peninsula, a very highly desirable. So what's happened in Blake's explanation I'm hearing is that we're looking at the upper desert market area, the Palos Verdes market area, as 2 separate distinct markets.
Forgot about our divorce in Anaheim, though.
Mhm.
And that it still comes into play. You have to look at the market of the neighborhood. I mean, real estate, we can regurgitate these numbers out nationally, locally, everything, but really it comes down to the area around the house itself that you're selling. What is it?
Solving the problem for a specific family.
Exactly. And what's available in my neighborhood, the 1-story right now is king. And in my personal neighborhood.
Well, that's because you're talking to all old people like us, and we can't. The stairs are tough.
The 2-stories are selling too, but the 1-stories go fastest.
Yeah, it's because double knee replacement. It's hard to get that 2-story.
Exactly.
Hey, we appreciate you guys coming in.